What is going on, Cover One crew? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody's doing great, man. Happy Monday to everybody. It is kicking off the week on the positive note. Man, I'm diving into this lab on the regular, spending countless hours because we got to know what these players are. I'm going to start on the defensive side, and we're going to talk a little Christian Gonzalez, Oregon Duck product, former Colorado product. And I mean, he's a good one. I was a little bit, up and down on his game, wondering how good he was going to be. Broke down some tape, and I mean, he is pretty darn good. Some are pegging him to be the top corner in this entire draft. I don't think there's necessarily a Sauce Gardner in this draft, in my opinion, as we sit today. But there is a lot of quality defensive backs, and this defensive draft does seem to have a lot of good to solid talent that will change a lot of defenses. No kidding about that. But I do got pros, cons, final grade score for this rookie coming into the NFL draft. So definitely follow me, and we'll see what we got to say about Christian Gonzalez, defensive back from Oregon. Like I mentioned, there is a lot of solid talent at the defensive back, in this rookie class, I should say. And Christian Gonzalez is no different, man. Yes, he did transfer to the Oregon Ducks. Stroke of genius made his game look that much better with the Ducks. No kidding. I mean, Colorado, he was okay, but I mean, he definitely lifted it to another level. Let's go with those measurables first. If you guys aren't aware, this is how I break all these rookies down. Height is 6'2", 200 pounds. He is only 20 years of age. Still very youthful, man, compared to the 21, 22 years of age we typically see these rookies coming out. 30 contests, 128 tackles. Is 6 tackles for loss. He did have 4 interceptions, and they all came with the Ducks. He had none with Colorado. Transferred, like I said, to these Ducks, and he started making some plays on the pick game. 4 picks, 17 pass defenses, no fumbles, recovered, no forced, and no defensive touchdowns. But, I mean, it was a very good, progression in his game year over year over year, and then he did showcase his talent that much more. When we're talking about the pros, he's got a good frame. I mean, 6'2", 200 is kind of the prototypical you're looking for from your defensive backs these days. Okay, 6'3", we could say is prototypical, but 6'2", 200, very much a well put together human individual. He does look good. And we start with the running style, man. Clean strides, fluid and effortless. And I'm telling y'all, that's what I covet from a lot of my players. I don't necessarily like the clunky running style from any position, and Gonzalez definitely does not possess any clunkiness to his game. Very much fluid and effortless running ability, very much like a streamlined butterfly on that field. He does look good, man. Tape speed does look good. I still want to see that 40 at the combine. That's going to, impact my draft stock for him that much more. Acceleration on film does look sound as well. No issues with that, and the recovery burst is absolutely solid. So when you see him how he's baiting quarterbacks, how he covers the slant routes, even man-to-man, even on zone, that recovery burst is absolutely on point, and it is there. Extremely spectacular for a Christian Gonzalez. No kidding about that. Good athletic ability. Hip fluidity right now, I'm going to say, is just above average, even though I can say it's very good, okay? With the running style, that's very fluid. Turning the hips, you want to see in your defensive back be extremely fluid. I don't have any, it's not a con for me, but I got to put it down. It's above average, and it's growing. So as he continues to morph his technique, I think that is going to continue to improve in his game as well. Great play recognition, coverage skills, man. This guy is, if you want to cover corner, this is the guy you want. It's like I'm going to preface that with saying I don't believe that there is a Sauce Gardner in this draft, but, you're talking as close as you can get. This guy can cover like a madman, and he sticks with these wide receivers like glue. Coverage skills are definitely a plus grade for me for a Christian Gonzalez. Long arms, knocks him down. Catch radius is definitely there. Everything you like to see. I believe he was a former wide receiver also, so he does possess some of that wide receiver traits in his game when he's playing. So he's learning how to, progress as the defensive back. But the catch radius and the ability to do that with knockdowns, it's definitely littered all over his film, where he's always active hands. So that's my next point, man. Pass breakups, it's always there on film. He's very much active in trying to knock down the ball if he cannot get the interception. Active hands are very important for him. He gets a little bit grabby at times, but active hands are a good thing and a great positive, especially for a defensive back whose coverage skills are A pluses. No kidding, man. Very competent tackler, low and like a wrap up. It's pinpoint, just beautiful when you watch it. The one thing you got to say, even though I'm putting his tackling as a pro, he does dip his head just a little too much. Could be a problem when he gets into the pros because you're dealing with grown men in the NFL. And I mean, they're definitely going to exploit that if you can't see where you're going. But he does very well in the wrap-up and the low tackle center of gravity, pulls down the wide receivers, pulls down the running backs, and you see it. It's all over the film when you're talking about his tackling ability. You don't have a big glaring issue at all. It is a definite positive for me. It's very much technique based. He sticks to it, and it's always the low center of gravity, wrapping up his the ball carriers with ease, and he brings them down. He does very well in that department. He's very good in run support. I don't think he's a liability whatsoever. And again, it goes to that where he's an active tackler. He's looking for the ball carrier, and he's going to try to make a play, especially when he's one-on-one on the outside and he does break off and he tries to find the running back. He is able to make plays. So for me, it's a big positive when you have a guy who's so good in coverage that is actively, able to help in run support. It's a definite plus grade for me. He does have good jam, but I will put a caveat on that in the cons because there is an issue with consistency. But when he does get his hands on the wide receivers, it is there. But he does it extremely well where there's two ways that he does that. It's either he jams up the wide receiver to remove the timing on the pass or the route, or he just, keeps his hands in front of the wide receiver where it's not necessarily a jam, but he's keeping the wide receiver to his side that he wants, pushes him to the sidelines. It's kind of one of those, push-off jams that he does do. It's a good trait, and it's a good skill that he does possess. Very good technique in that regard. Good shadow technique. He sticks with his wide receivers. I'm telling y'all, man, he's pushing them to the outside on the sideline, removes a lot of field for these quarterbacks to throw the ball to, and then Gonzalez is definitely making a pass breakup on a lot of these balls. It's a very good technique and a shadow coverage skill that he does possess. It's extremely positive for this young player who is, again, only 20 years of age and growing. He's definitely going to round out a lot of these skills, no question about that. For the cons, we got to talk cons, okay? Because no prospect is 100% proof, and deep ball tracking right now to me is average, and I get it, okay? Not necessarily part of his game that, is glaring for me to say that it's a terrible trait, but you can see it on tape. It's not, precise and proficient enough for me to say that he's very good at it. It's just average at this point. I mean, definitely a coachable trait that he can work through, understanding, the high pointing the ball, understanding how to cover it deep. It will come with time. No kidding about that. Some technique issues, but again, it's nitpicky, and it's definitely coachable. Slower turn on the wide receiver route breaks. Excuse me. It has been seen. That goes against my pro of saying that, his hip fluidity is good, which it is, but then you see the technique issue where there is slower turns when the wide receiver does break, but it's very minuscule. There's not a lot to say that I'm going to criticize him on that. Again, very much coachable. Misjudgment on the hops. You see it from time to time. He gets a little overambitious, tries to make a play on the ball, and just mistimes the hop. Again, very much coachable. It's going to come with more playing reps, and he's going to understand how to do that much better. Hands on the air. They're inconsistent at times, but again, I think that he's so good at pass breakups. He's definitely taken the breakup over the interception majority of the time, but that's why I'm saying you saw this past year with the Oregon Ducks, he did have 4 interceptions, which does show that he's starting to figure that part of his game out as well, but I did see a lot of opportunities where he did drop some interceptions that were right in his breadbasket, and they weren't, corralled in. Fine, fair enough, he is a defensive back, but I mean, you want to see him at least take 50% of those ones that are clear-cut in his hands, and, may hopefully take it to the house and make a house call, but inconsistencies at times. Again, it's going to come with more reps, more play on the defense, and you're going to see that come. Press consistency, it does need improvement, like I said. So you want to see him be a jamming guy more often than not, rather than, just have his arms out in front of the wide receiver so that he can follow him with his arms and his hands. That's kind of what I'm saying with his jam. It's not a big problem, but you want to see a little bit more, physicality in that jam where it's a lot more consistent than it isn't. And I again, it's not a glaring need because I do believe he's a very good prospect, but there is issues with any prospect you're dealing with on film. But Christian Gonzalez, to me, is a very capable defensive back, and with his coverage skills, when you can put him with a good coaching staff to round out the rest of this game, I mean, this kid could be unstoppable. And the way that he plays, the fluidity is where I'm going with the running ability, how he's able to come back and recover when he does does miss a step, it's on point, and it could lift him to be one of the better defensive backs coming out of this draft class. But for grading purposes, like I said, I give a score for all of my rookies based on film dissection, and I mean 79.6. You can't hate the grade score for this man. It's a very high grade, and I mean, outstanding to very good ability right now is where we got him, and I think there is room to grow. He still is youthful. He's still somewhat unexperienced, and you're going to see his game completely go in the right direction, barring his team, obviously. But I think if he gets on a very good club, you're going to see what a Christian Gonzalez can definitely do in the NFL, because he is definitely no slouch, and he could be the first defensive back taken off the board. No kidding about that. So there you have it. That is the first of many scouting reports coming this offseason before the NFL draft. I'm going to continue them after the NFL draft once we realize where these players do land on what their teams will be. But Christian Gonzalez is definitely a stud in the making, and I was very much impressed by his film. There is room for him to grow, which I think is great because his ceiling is extremely large, and I think that's the benefit if you're looking at a Christian Gonzalez. If any NFL team is looking at a Christian Gonzalez to draft them on their squad, the ceiling hasn't even been touched close to yet, and I think there is plenty of room for him to grow, I should say it that way. But I mean, he definitely is a very talented defensive back and will catch the eye of a lot of NFL scouts. No kidding about that. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. What do you think on Christian Gonzalez? If you do like his game, you don't like his game, you think he's overrated, overhyped, put it in the comments, let me know. But I'm a pretty big fan of him right now, and I think it's only going to continue to grow for me. But nevertheless, we'll see you next time. I am out.